聞こえの未来。
皆さん、聞こえの未来シーズン2をご視聴いただき誠にありがとうございます。オーティコン補聴器の田中です。
茨城大学教育学部の田原です。
どうぞよろしくお願いいたします。
このビデオシリーズ聞こえの未来では、聴覚に関する最新の研究を分かりやすく噛み砕いた形でお届けすることを目的として企画しています。なんと今回シーズン2ではここデンマークエリクスホルム研究センターに来てしまいました。で、実際の研究者にですね、いろいろ最新のトピックについてこれから聞いていきたいと思います。どうぞお楽しみください。
では行ってみましょ
う。In this video, we'd like to welcome Dr. James Hart as our guest. So it's our great pleasure to have you here. And could you start from your brief introduction for viewers?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Hello. My name is James Hart. I'm the Senior Director for the Eriksholm Research Centre. I'm actually a former academic, so I used to work at the Technical University of Denmark. I was an associate professor there, actually, specializing in technical audiology and working with electrophysiology and otoacoustic emissions, which are certain ways that we can use to test and measure how a child, for example, whether they can hear or not. I actually joined industry maybe 10 years ago. I actually joined originally with a sister company of ours, which was the Interacoustics company. And specifically, I help establish what's known as the Interacoustics Research Unit, which is sort of a baby brother or sister to Eriksholm. And I actually joined Eriksholm actually back in 2020, so right just before the COVID pandemic hit. I actually came and joined this organization and been here ever since, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. By the way, have you ever been to Japan?
I have, yes, yeah. I've been to Japan a few times now. I actually first went to Japan for the first ever Japanese-Korea ENT joint scientific meeting, actually in Tokyo, which was a fantastic meeting. And I've been back a few times. And it's a special place for me because we actually established a really nice research collaboration with Japan with Dr. Kamida, where we actually had a nice PhD project in between Interacoustics Research Unit, where I was then, Dr. Kamida, and the Technical University of Denmark, looking at otitis media. And of course, he's famous for his otoscopic images and looking at the ear canal and looking at how we can deal with middle ear infections in children. So that was a very nice project and a very nice collaboration with Japan.
Okay, thank you. And I heard your hobby is climbing, rock climbing.
Yes, yes. Middle age sets in, so maybe not so much anymore. But yeah, rock climbing and outdoor activities and running and various things. So yes, I'm pretty active.
Climb in Denmark.
It's not so high, so it's mainly climbing indoors in Denmark. But yes,
that's why I ask you, because we have a lot of great mountains in Japan. So
you do,
it's a good opportunity for you if you want.
Yeah, I would love the opportunity at some point.
Now we would like to get down to business, and in the 聞こえの未来 Season 1, your colleague Hamish already introduced about the Eriksholm Research Center to Japanese people. But to our pleasure, we have received feedback from viewers, and they said we want to know about the Eriksholm Center much more. So that's why we planned a new video like this. And we are very pleased to have you join our project in this way. So could you kindly provide us an overview of the Eriksholm Research Center and its mission and objectives as a director?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Eriksholm was actually established in 1977. So we were originally established to be a small group of originally engineers. So we were there to actually work with new generation technology for hearing aids. But as the years went by, we became more and more of a scientific team. So as hearing science in general, or how hearing, clinical hearing healthcare moved forward, it became more clinically evidence-based. And so therefore they needed a scientific team focused on 5 to 10 years away from hearing care treatment, of what's happening in academia, and try and bring that back to the organization. So Ericsholm now, it grew from a tiny team of maybe 5 or 6 engineers to something now where we've actually got about 55 people that's actually established and working in Ericsholm. And about half of those are our core scientific team, where we have computer scientists, audiologists, we have neuroscientists, we have psychologists, and even physicists working in our team, because hearing science is extremely multidisciplinary. So we need to look at this from various different angles. And then the rest of the team is sort of dealing with these wonderful facilities that we have and organizing that. We have some business support team as well, because we're an entire site working on our own, away from headquarters. And then of course we have many PhD students and master's students actually working with Ericsholm for future projects and working with us on various different research themes that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's so wonderful. So I'm ensure that you are relying on the very groundwork for the hearing research or hearing science or hearing health. And can you give us an introduction to the research topics that you are mainly dealing with currently?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I didn't say before was, of course, that Ericsholm, as we're trying to work at this boundary point between 5 to 10 years away from technology that could be out in the world helping people. So we're there to try and look at what's happening in academia that's super relevant for the hearing healthcare industry, and then to try and build innovation around that, or do research which allows the company to innovate with these different technologies. We have 4 main research areas in Ericsholm right now. Originally, it used to be only 3, but we introduced a 4th at the end of last year. The first 3 are personalized audiology, so that's one of our core themes. This is us trying to find better ways to individualize hearing aid fitting treatment for various different research methods, where we try and understand the specific hearing loss that somebody has, and then the specific hearing aid fitting parameters, which gives them the best possible outcomes in their lives. We also need to understand how people live their lives. So how do they use their technology? And I think that's a really interesting angle, certainly in the modern world, where we try and utilize social media, we try and utilize apps, we try and utilize the fact that hearing aids are Internet of Things devices. They're connected to mobile phones and able to capture data about people's lives, and, well, not about their lives, but how they use their hearing technology. And we try and work with that to try and, again, provide better individualized fitting for them, such that their hearing technology best supports their particular hearing loss. Second area of research, so that's just one. Yeah. We have quite a few. That's the first one. And the second area is what we call cognitive hearing science. So this is the idea that we listen with our brains, we don't just listen with our ears. And that's a strange way of putting it, but it's super true, because basically if you have a hearing loss, there's a whole bunch of what we call cognitive processes, things like working memory, basically help us in understanding communication, understanding speech in noise, for example. Now, if we have a hearing loss, it becomes harder and harder to understand speech. It becomes harder and harder to communicate. And then the brain has to work harder in order for you to basically be able to understand and communicate in that kind of situation. And cognitive hearing science, this research area that we work with, is looking at things like listening effort, this extra effort that you have to use if you have a hearing impairment in order to understand, in order to communicate. But it is also there to look at how we age healthily, sometimes also how we age unhealthily, and how the interaction between hearing impairment and aging comes into play, which is extremely important for many of our target customers and target clients that we want to help with their hearing impairment. The third sort of original area of research for Eriksholm is what we call intent decoding. Now, intent is sort of, you have an intrinsic intention on maybe listening to Dr. Kateoka or to you, Dr. Tafaro, in a conversation. And I will flip my attention depending on who is speaking or if there is multiple things happening in a room. Now, modern hearing aids are extremely good at decoding the acoustics of a situation. They're very powerful little devices where we can understand acoustically in terms of the sounds that's in a room. But we're very bad at having an internal understanding of what the user needs and wants in the moment. So intent decoding is really trying to understand what the user needs and wants in the moment such that the hearing aid can give it to you. And the way that we do this kind of research, it's actually pretty cool. So we have facilities where you can actually monitor a conversation between two or more people with background noise. And then what will happen is we will look at where people look. So we have cameras looking at their eyes and looking outwards. We will monitor their mental load when they're having a conversation. Again, we're looking at eyes. It's a thing known as pupillometry. So when the eyes expand, that's actually an indication that you're using more effort. And I think you're going to hear more about this later from one of my colleagues. We will look at body movements, and then we will look at voice production. So typically, if there's lots of noise, you will change the way that you speak to adapt. And so what we will do is we will gather all of this information to look at what is normal behavior and what happens when you flip your attention from one person to another person, and then we try and find the easiest possible way that we can, identify that and then hopefully put that into a hearing aid. And actually the latest generation of Oticon intent hearing aids is the first generation of devices which is actually trying to do that. It's the thin end at the moment. It's a great product, but it's something where we think we can do so much more in the future with different new methods. Now, these three original areas of research for Eriksholm, they're fantastic because they actually tell us a ton of information about someone's hearing loss and their hearing needs. The fourth leg of Eriksholm, which is the new branch that we've just started at the end of last year, is actually around artificial intelligence. So it's looking at machine learning and data science to try and take all of that insight we've gathered about hearing loss and hearing treatment and say, can we, with the problems that we've identified, can we apply the latest generation of engineering tools to try and process sound to give you as an individual user the right sound in the right moment in some kind of intuitive or simple way? That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to say, how can we support a hearing care professional or an ENT doctor or an audiologist to better treat their client more quickly, such that they get the best possible outcomes in a very, very quick and efficient way that people are happy and satisfied with their hearing treatment. And I think it's a really exciting area for us to start launching into the team. And we're actually expanding Eriksholm right now in artificial intelligence with about 10 additional scientists that are going to join us in the next year or two, which is great.
Yeah, great. So thank you for sharing the exciting information. And when I present my study in the European countries, then I frequently asked about the Eriksholm Research Center because Hamish was in my list as a co-researcher on my slide. So then I realized that Eriksholm is a hearing research institute attracting much attention worldwide. Yeah. And now I'm so excited to hear your project now. Yeah.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our mission is to help people with hearing difficulties. Listening in noisy environments is one of the most difficult situations. We constantly work on improving our hearing aids' ability to enhance speech in such challenging situations. That's why we use artificial intelligence to help you in particularly difficult situations.
Often it's not clear which part of a sound environment is most important to the user. Imagine you are having a conversation with a friend in a cafe while a band is playing music in the background. Although it's completely obvious to you that you want to listen to your friend, a hearing aid must analyze the situation and decide to focus on your friend and not the band. Our brain is surprisingly good at analyzing and extracting sound in various listening environments. This is why we let us inspire by how the human brain extracts and analyzes sounds to help people with a hearing loss.
Humans learn by example. For instance, before a new word becomes part of your vocabulary, you have to encounter it around 10 times. In a similar way, artificial intelligence also learns by example. By exposing our hearing aids to different sound environments, they learn to extract the sound source of interest to the user. This is how artificial intelligence helps the hearing aid predict which sounds the user wants to focus on, even before the user is aware of it.
It's incredibly challenging to develop tiny, intelligent hearing aids that constantly adjust themselves to the sound environment of the user. Our engineers work on the edge of what is possible, and artificial intelligence is yet another step into the future.
Come and join us and be a part of our incredible team.